Yes. Oh, yes. First of all, we are live. Hello to the universe out there. How are you guys
That is
doing?
important to mention.
Yes, of course.
So
Um,
for our listeners at home, especially, because we might have a little bit of interaction from the people watching,
I sure hope so.
if anybody does decide to watch. But yeah, this is our first time trying to record live with video, and if it's a spectacular failure, we won't do it anymore. But we just thought we'd give it a try.
It's the first time for everything, and we always like trying new things. So here we are.
Yeah, here we are. How's it going, man?
Oh man, I cannot complain. It was a good day. How about for you?
Good. Today was okay. Of course, it's cold where we are. I know it's
Yeah.
colder where you are. Um, and I've got lots to complain about, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Well, the good thing about this podcast is we don't really complain about board games often. I mean,
No,
it's kind of
that's right.
we're kind of the opposite with the Lighten Up initiative. So
That's right.
So I figured, we could start with, what we normally do, a few of our recent gaming experiences. Do you want to
Okay.
go first or should I?
Um, let's see. I didn't hit record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're streaming. We're
Oh, okay.
streaming, but we didn't hit record. So what we'll do is we can start over. I
Okay.
won't stop, and we'll just have like a joke for the people that are watching because there's currently no one watching, so it's not a big deal.
Oh, okay.
Okay, ready?
All right, cool.
All right, we're recording now.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Board Games Are Fun, episode 6.
Deja vu. I feel like you just said that.
Well, the funny thing about it is we live in a world with technology where things can happen, and they just did. So,
Yep. And speaking of technology and the wonderful world of technology, we are recording live from our studios at home.
hello to the people out there. I hope this video finds you well.
Yeah.
How you doing out there?
So if you're listening not live, that's what's going on. If you hear us talk about someone making a funny comment or a question, that's what we're doing. So thought we'd give it a try, see what happens. Might be fun, might be a train wreck. Who knows? We can always not do it again.
And isn't life at its best when it could be fun or a train wreck? I mean,
That's
every
that's
day.
yep. There's a word for that. I can't think of it right now. Exhilarating. There we go.
Ah, yes, yes.
It
I
came to
like
me
that.
finally.
Two E words: exhilarating or embarrassing. One of the
Yep.
two.
So how are things going for you?
Oh man, I can't complain. Today was a good day. I definitely enjoyed it. How about you?
Cold and wet. It's been
Very.
raining a lot here, and um, but cold, but it's colder for you, I believe. I mean, you had freezing rain.
Yeah, actually, school was canceled yesterday. To
Oh,
all our northerner listeners out there, we're not built for any kind of snow or ice here in Texas. So
no,
just about a half inch thick, we're done. We're out. So yesterday we were.
that's crazy. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So I figured, we could start the way we normally do, and we could talk about some of our recent gaming experiences. Do you want to go first, or should I?
You go first.
Okay. One of the most recent gaming experiences I had, actually, I got with a group of friends, and for my friend's birthday, he
Oh,
wanted to play Sheriff of Nottingham. And so I had not played this. I've only played this game once before, and it was with you.
hmm,
And I had a great time with it. But I didn't really remember the mechanics of it well, so they kind of had to teach me this time. So it was a
yeah.
lot of fun. And basically, in that game, you are just trying to, get as many goods into the city as you can. Some of those legal, some of those not so legal. And the sheriff is checking to see if you're doing it the right way or not, and you have to convince him that you are.
Hmm.
And so we had a very interesting time with it. My friend created an alter ego, and was he was talking about cheese all the time. He created this crazy voice,
Jeez.
and he was like, "I have to get the cheese across the. I have to get the cheese," and he would always do that.
I love
And then
that.
I had another friend who, every time he would go to talk to the sheriff, he'd be like, "Sheriff," and he'd do this big voice, and then he'd pat his
Oh,
chest, "Sheriff, oh, sheriff, I've got some goods." And it was just, I mean, you mix that with the group that we had, and we had a heck of a time playing. It was a lot of fun.
I have to say that people not watching this live on video are missing out on quite a show. Watching you instead of just listening to you makes this so much better. So thank you for the reenactment of what your friends are doing.
Oh, I had to because I couldn't stop laughing at it at the table, man. It was crazy. I was like, what's gotten into us? And then I remembered all the sweets we had had right before,
Oh wow.
and dawned on me. It's still sweets still affect you even as adults. I
I
didn't know if
guess
anybody knew that or not, but
just
I
makes
learned.
just makes me sleepy. Then again, most things do. So
All right, so what about a recent gaming experience for you?
so I've got we don't have to talk about them all. I've got four to talk about,
Oh,
and
cool.
I want to save the best one for last.
Ooh,
I am
sounds like a plan.
so excited to talk about it.
Okay.
First, I'll talk about a game we live streamed about a month ago, I think. Yeah, about the end of September, called The Batman Who Laughs Rising.
Ooh.
So the Op, formerly USA Opoly, has this line of games. First, it was Thanos Rising. Then they had a Dark Side Rising. Then they had Death Eaters Rising. And then this one is the Batman Who Laughs Rising, and it's based off of this comic series called Dark Knight's Metal. And these Batmen from alternate worlds come to Earth Prime and try to essentially
Huh.
take over
Interesting.
and kill everybody. And so, but like they're different Batman that like they're merged with other characters because there's like art merge between Batman and Aqua. I guess it would be Mara, the woman Aquaman,
Oh, okay.
and then there's a merge between Batman and the Flash, kind of a mixture. But the main one, the really big bad one, is a merge between Batman and Joker. And so the premise of the game is he's there, he's trying to manipulate all of these evil Batmen to come and destroy you, and you're trying to stop him. And it's a dice rolling game. You're rolling lots of dice. It's you're trying to recruit characters for your team, and when you do, you get special abilities. You get other dice to roll.
Hmm.
It's got that mechanic where kind of like Elder Sign, where you roll. You can put a die down. You can whatever plug it in, and then you
Yeah.
can re-roll and put some down, and then re-roll and put some down,
Okay. Okay.
until you get the requirements to get that card. And oh man, it's so hard. I don't know how it's possible to win this game because I mean, whether you like it or not, it's really all based on your die rolls.
Mm.
There is some strategy, of course, depending on like the locations you go to and the characters that you recruit. But ultimately, it all comes down to how you roll your dice,
Mm.
and I'm fine with that. I like rolling dice, and
Yeah.
we don't put too much into it, so um, there's no problem with that. But it's hard, and but I like it because it's DC characters, which I'm a huge DC fan,
Right.
and we don't have very many good board games for DC fans. Marvel's got a monopoly on all good things. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a difficult challenge, but with some DC properties and some dice rolling kinds of stuff, I'd recommend it. We really like it. And if you want to watch us play it, go to the Lighten Up Initiative YouTube channel. There's a live stream of me and Lara playing it.
Nice, a true game of chance, and what a interesting experience for a DC fan, like having mashups like that, like
Yeah.
Aquawoman and Batman coming together, or Flash and Batman coming together. Maybe some dream teams that people have seen out there. So
Hmm.
definitely something people could check out.
Hmm.
I know one other experience I had recently. I played Smash Up, and I had never played it before.
Hmm.
But so it was one I had to get walked through again. This was, we had an episode about teaching recently, and I was being the student this last time we played. So it was definitely an interesting flip of the script. But in that one, you got a bunch of different decks of characters. Like for me, I used dinosaurs and pirates, and I put them together. and had a swashbuckling T-Rex power trio that I thought I was gonna really make some noise with, and I got really close. But you take two decks, you put them together, and you just let the game unfold from there. You're trying to conquer bases throughout the whole game, and together, kind of as a group, you're working to do that. But to the victor goes the spoils. The most troops of your team gets you the victory and gets you the most points, and you're trying to get to 15 first. Now, I definitely was just interested in how the mechanics were going to work in the first place
Mm-hmm.
because taking these kind of larger than life concepts like dinosaurs and aliens and goblins and things like that and mixing them all together, I
Mm-hmm.
thought it'd be just interesting to see. And so it definitely was just watching that come together, and then I definitely enjoyed it because sometimes I go into a game and I don't know about everybody out there, but for me, sometimes I go into a game and I'm just wanting to explore. I just want to
Yeah.
see what the game is. Sometimes I go into a game and I'm like, I'm going to win. No matter what, I will win this
Yeah.
game. You got that
Mm-hmm.
feeling sometimes. Every once in a while, your competitive juices just come out. And for this game, I wanted to win.
Yeah.
I,
It's
you
one
know,
of
I
those, huh?
yeah, I spent like one turn, being like, oh yeah, this is gonna be cool. I just want to see what this is like. And then right after that, I was like, give me that. And so it was definitely interesting playing the game. I enjoyed the mechanisms of putting those decks together and watching how they worked off of each other
Mm-hmm.
um, to get my friend who had the zombies and the wizards a win. He won.
Nice. The
By
zombie wizards.
basically the zombies just overran each
Oh,
base that they went to, and then he had enough
I,
zombies, and then he would put a wizard on to win a base, and that was it, and he won.
it's so thematic. That's how it would happen.
Yeah, and so I definitely had a great time with it, and I definitely want to try it again and hopefully get some of the expansions so we can throw some new groups together.
There are so many expansion for that game. Like you just, it's crazy.
Yeah,
So many. Um, cool. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. So that was your first time playing, right?
yeah, it was my first time playing that one.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
remember it's been years since I've played that, but it's a fun one for sure, and it's easy to learn too. So
Definitely,
yeah.
yeah. By turn two, I was invested fully and knew what I was doing, knew how I was gonna try to win, and I came in second place, so I felt good about it. Even though we're not handing out participation trophies or anything,
Right.
but it was a lot of fun. I definitely
Hmm.
enjoyed it.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. The next one for me, I want to talk about Nagaraja. This is a game that Seigen gave me for my birthday.
Yeah.
This is a two-player game by one of my favorite, or it's a team. So there are two people. I don't know who the other, sorry guy. I don't know who the other guy is, but one of my other favorite designers is Bruno Catala. And in this game, you play as adventurers or like archaeologists, and it's a two-player game, and you both each are excavating your own temple. And the way it works is you have cards, and these cards are multi-use, so they can either be used to gain what are called fate sticks. I'll talk about what those are in a minute, or you can use them to play for their abilities. Um, and so you can use them to acquire these fate sticks, and they're like dice, but they're flat. They're like four-sided, and they're flat. They're like sticks, um, and then there are pips on them, so there are a number of dots on there, but there are also these things called nagas, and it's like this wavy line. And so what you'll do is once you've determined how many of those sticks you get, both players will roll them, and then we'll get points, the little dots. You'll total up those, and then you'll also total up your nagas. And the nagas let you activate effects on cards, and the points determine who gets the next tile that's being excavated. And so you've got to strategize about how you're going to use the cards, which I love that. And then you get a tile to add to your little temple here, and you've got to plan right how you put those out because on the edges of the board are these artifacts that you're trying to reveal because they're worth points. So you've got to put your tiles down in a way that will lead to these artifacts on the outside. But there are different paths on them, so they don't like some will turn, some will go straight, some will branch off, and you
Oh,
can't ever
interesting.
put it out. You can't ever plan exactly how it's going to come out. and it's like the first to 25 points wins. And there are cursed treasures, and if you reveal all three of those, you lose. It's a very unique and interesting game, and I
Hmm,
really enjoy it. Laura and I had a great time with it. So thank you
nice.
again for the gift. It's very enjoyable.
Well, good. I'm glad you liked it. I was definitely excited to hear more about it, and I can't wait to try it myself.
Yeah,
Hopefully soon.
yeah, and it's like 30 minutes or less, so it's a
Oh,
great.
perfect,
Hmm.
perfect time. Yeah. Okay, the next one for me, and kind of on a, I guess, a relatively oldie but goodie kick recently. I played Talisman for the first time
Nice.
about a week ago, and again, this is another one. I was the student, not the teacher, so I was learning for this one, and if I'm being honest, I didn't really grasp it fully. It may be
Yeah.
a little, maybe just a little too much for me, or just not my style of game. We had another episode not too long ago where we talked about, some players just don't fit with certain games,
Yeah.
and I have a group of it's a very eclectic group. It's a lot of different kinds of left brain, brain type people. We're all creative, and so we enjoy the aspect of that, but like some people enjoy the more uh, mentally
Yeah.
taxing games, and some people enjoy the more just front face value games, like for example, King of Tokyo, the one I love, and for example, Talisman, one that pretty much everybody else in the group really enjoyed. So I
Interesting.
don't want to like fully say that I'll never try it again, but it was definitely a tough game for me to
Mm.
get. Basically, what you're trying to do is just be the first one to get to the end of the board.
Oh,
From what I gathered from it. Now, again, I could be wrong here because I was learning, but
maybe you had a bad teacher.
but basically, there's certain objectives you got to meet to get to the next layer of the board, and then as you go further into the board, it gets more and more difficult until you get to the
Interesting.
end.
Okay.
And so it's basically like a three-layered deal. Like you're on the outside for a while, and then once you get to that second tier, it gets a little harder, and then once you get to that third tier, it's like almost impossible to stay in. If you don't
That
have the win condition when you get there, you're in trouble.
that sounds interesting.
And so, like that concept, I really enjoyed. It's
Hmm.
just for me, I think probably what took me out of it the most, I just was stuck. I never got past the first level, the
Hmm.
whole game.
Hmm.
And so
That's a
that
problem.
probably, and I get that, and I like that games are that challenging where, well, maybe there is somebody who's left behind, and that's not a bad thing. It is what it is. Games are like that. Life is like that sometimes.
Yeah.
But for me, just in this case, I never felt like I was really progressing towards the goal. And so, if you're not progressing, then what are you
Yeah.
doing?
You can't have
And
fun when that happens.
so yeah, and just in this case, I didn't like it too much, but I was happy that all of my friends really enjoyed it, and I give it another shot just because I want to see if maybe I just didn't play correctly, or if there was something that I missed from the rules that I would like to try to do again.
Yeah.
So that was Talisman for me.
Well, it's another game where there are several versions. I don't know if you knew this. They have a Kingdom Hearts version and they have a Batman version.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been interested to try it.
Yeah.
We have a comment from Ryan Moore. He's helping us out with Nagaraja. He said, Theo Riviere, or Riviere, by however you pronounce it, is the other designer. So thank you, Ryan.
Oh,
Thanks for
yeah.
jumping in there and giving us the information. Appreciate
Coming
it.
in the clutch, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay. Should I do one more? Are you? How many more do you have? Was that it for you?
I can do one more if you want to go ahead and do the four. So it's up to you.
I'll go ahead and do my last one because I want to
Okay.
talk about it. Okay. So this game I've been thinking about a lot ever since I played it. It is called Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Mm,
Now, this is from CGE. Every year they put out one of their big games. Last year it was called Sanctum, which was supposed to be like it's the same guy that designed Adrenaline. So it's supposed to be like I never played Diablo,
mm,
but it's supposed to kind of be like that in board game form, and it's really neat. It's a lot of fun. But
okay.
this year it's called Lost Ruins of Arnak. Now you're adventurers, and you've come to um, this island called Arnak. You found it. It was supposed to be doesn't exist, but you find it on the map, and so each player plays a team of archaeologists. And at this place, you there are lots of different things going on. You're going to these different various locations that offer actions for you to do,
Mm.
but you have to discover, you have to excavate them first. So you have to go and then you'll do an action to get the tile laid on the board, like you're excavating it, and then it'll provide you more benefits. But then this guardian comes along. It's some kind of crazy creature, and it sits on this location now. And it doesn't like do anything really bad to you. It's just whenever you leave that location later on, you'll get a fear card. So this is a deck building worker placement game,
Okay.
which is an excellent. They do an excellent job blending the two mechanisms. And so you place your workers, or they're your actually your little archaeologists out on the board to do things. And then you've got your deck that helps you do other things. And you're trying to add good cards while keeping bad cards out. And so if you leave a location while there's still a guardian there, you get fear cards into your deck. And those don't, when you draw them, they don't actively hurt you, but they're like junk cards, so they keep you from drawing good cards. And also, you lose points for them at the end of the game.
Okay. Okay.
So you've got that element going on. You have the element up at the top of the board where you're buying cards whenever you have the available resources
Mm-hmm.
to add. You've got some that are artifacts, some that are relics, and some that are tools. I think relics is the right word, but some are things that you find on the island, and some are things that you have brought with you. It's got this really neat thing I've never seen before, where you've got two parts of the board where one part starts with one of those relics and the rest is filled with items. But
Mm.
as you go through the game round through round, you start to become more relics become available while fewer and fewer items become available, because it's like you're moving into the island further away from where your resources are and you're finding more relics around there.
Oh.
So, and those relics are more powerful, but you have to give up more stuff to use them.
Mm.
Um, and so all the cards are worth points that you'll have at the end of the game. But then there's also this other track of research. So what you're doing there is you're getting different kinds of resources to move up this research track, and you're uncovering various things till eventually you get to this temple that you want to explore. And if you explore that, you get a lot of points. And I don't know, just the way that everything comes together into one package. This game is so good. Um, it's for me. I've played several games that came out this year. I mean, I don't always get to play every game, obviously, and but I've played quite a few, and I can say without a doubt this is my favorite that's come out this year.
Oh wow,
Um,
that's high praise.
and that's just playing after playing it one time.
Nice.
I know it won't drop unless something else comes along the last part of the year. I know it won't drop off that part. Um, it is possible it could be in my top 10 of all time, of games of all time, because I
Wow.
enjoyed it so much. I have to play
Huh.
it more.
Yeah.
There's an opposite side of the board that makes it more challenging. There's also a solo mode that has like a campaign that you can play through, which I'm really interested in trying.
Yeah.
Um, but I love it. I love it. It's I can't say anything bad about it. So
Wow.
I think it's out now or very soon available. So if you can grab it, check it out, look up more information about it, I highly recommend you do, because it's so good.
Man, that's that. You've definitely sold me on it. I definitely want to try it
It's so
soon.
good.
Yeah, man. That's it. It sounds like a lot of elements of other games that I enjoy kind of
Yeah.
put together into
Mm-hmm.
one game or gaming experience, which
Yeah,
sounds
because I
really
mean,
interesting.
it's kind of it's not full and full point salad type thing, but
Hmm.
there are several ways you can get points, and so it's all dependent on how you want to do that. You can
Oh,
go go. I know you.
you
You can
know I
go.
love those kind of games.
You
Yep.
can go all in over here. Like Lara, she got a ton of points because you can defeat, or like not defeat, but kind of like befriend these guardians, to where they leave the locations and they come like work for you, but they also give you points in addition to a special ability. And
Mm.
so like that's how Lara got a majority of her points, was just by befriending these guardians, and she ended up beating me. We played with three other people, so she got second place, and
Okay.
but I mean she was very close behind first place, and like that strategy worked for her. So lots of different ways you can go, and I'm just excited to be able to explore it some more.
Well, I definitely need to try that as soon as well, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Okay, well, I think that'll wrap up that portion for us. So I want to transition into a question I've been waiting to ask you since the last time we talked. I am very curious as to what in your summation, is your favorite mechanic that you see come across in the game?
Um, it's perfect timing because I didn't want to say it when we were talking about it because I knew it was coming up, but deck building and worker placement are my two favorite mechanisms. And that's why I
Nice.
love the game so much, is because it combines my two favorite mechanisms in a game and they work so flawlessly together. It's just fantastic. Um, and I can't decide. I guess if I had to pick one, deck building would be my favorite. Um, I like the idea of you start with nothing essentially. Everybody starts with the same thing, and then throughout the game, you can buy stuff to make it better. It's like this efficiency engine thing where you want to get cards that are better, but you also going to want to get rid of cards that aren't doing you any good. And so like, that's when I have trouble with games that don't give you many opportunities to do that. So
Yeah.
like the Harry Potter deck building game and also the Toy Story deck building game, they're great games. They're very thematic and they're a lot of fun. But they don't give you very many opportunities to trash cards, to get cards out of your deck. So your
Right.
deck gets filled up and filled up with good cards, but the good cards don't come through frequently enough to be of use.
Right.
And
Right.
so this you can there are card there is a way in this game in Lost Ruins to do that, and I was happy to see that. But
Nice.
it's just cool to watch how different people go about the whole deck building process. Um, you may think one way is obvious, but somebody's doing something else that is obviously working for them. Like you, when we used to play Star Realms all the time over the app, like I could
Yeah.
never ever beat you, and I don't know what it was you were doing, but you figured it out. You figured out the trick to that game, and I never could. Um, and that's a pretty basic deck building game. So it's yeah, I like games that take the deck building and integrate it into the game as a whole. So like instead of just being a deck building game, for example, Clank, you can it's a deck building game, but you also are moving around this dungeon. You've got to get the right cards so that you can move, so that you can carry stuff, you can attack. It's not just cards. Or one of our favorites, Rococo, has a
Oh
deck
yeah.
building element to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like very prominent in the game, but it's essential, and you have to be good at it. You got to get the right staff in there doing the
Right.
right kinds of things, and you can get rid of, send them away, say I don't need you anymore, and get them out of your deck. And I just love it. I love it.
Nice.
I'll let you go ahead and talk about yours, and then I can come back around and talk about worker placement, unless you we share the similar ones.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I'm pretty much in agreement. I like deck building games so much.
Hmm.
They're so fun, and they kind of, it's just such a neat mechanism to see how it's different in each game.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
because they find a way to make it different in each game, which I really enjoy.
That is
I was
fun to try to do something different each time too.
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. Because you can go in a lot of different ways, which is neat. You know, you decide how you want to build your deck, and then you live and win or lose with those consequences, which is pretty cool. I guess, and I want to see now. You're more of a board game expert than me, so this is
Oh,
why I want to pose this question to you. But I don't know if you would consider this a mechanism or not. But it's like I like um maybe you call it real time
hmm.
games where like everybody goes at the same time.
So that's called simultaneous action.
And would that
Um,
I don't know if that would be considered a
it
mechanism or
is.
not.
It totally is.
Okay, so for me, I like that a lot because to me it's always kind of chaotic.
So are
I'm
you talking about like with a time limit?
Yeah,
Like okay,
like Flatline for example. If that's
yes,
an
that's now
example.
that's a real time game. So
Okay,
that is
okay.
that is totally a mechanism.
Okay, so yeah, like that kind of game.
Okay.
I like that, or like Escape from the Legends in the Hidden Temple,
Escape
or
Curse of the Hidden or
that's
Escape Curse of the Temple.
okay. There it is. Like
The
a
temple's
game
not
like
hidden.
yeah, fair, very fair. A game like that where like honestly you feel the pressure the whole time,
Hmm.
and it's just like you got to think really fast. You're on your feet the whole time. You're still in most cases, or at least in those two, you're working together,
Yeah.
and so it's neat to watch people in those pressure situations when they don't have a lot of time to think, what do you do?
Hmm.
What do you think is more important? How do we communicate? Are we a little more angsty with each other? Can we still work together and do it in a polite way?
Uh,
Or are we a little more feisty? And I kind of like both.
yeah.
And I love watching those dynamics at play because board games are just fun in general, of course, but when you're put under that extra pressure, you got just a minute, or in the case of Escape, just a couple of minutes. You just gotta
Mm.
go, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go, and then before you know it, it's over. And then you just deal with the damage. You can reset it and do it
Yeah.
again, and it's a lot of fun.
It
I
is.
would say that's my personal favorite.
That's great. And I love those breaks where it's like you can take a breath, you can assess what you have done
Breathe
and
for a
the
minute.
aftermath of everything that you've done. And okay, how do I fix what I've done?
Right, because you need it, because
Yeah.
you either you like you were had to do something and you didn't quite get it done,
Hmm.
or like in example like with flatline, like you have the dice and you're putting the dice everywhere you need to go, and then you have one left and you just don't know where to put it, and everybody's like, where do we that just
And then when the timer's over, it's like, oh, I could very easily have put it over here.
every time,
Every time.
and I love games like that, man.
Yeah,
They're
those are a
so fun.
blast.
Yeah.
We have a question from Ryan again. He says, "Are bag building and deck building equal in our eyes?" Have you played a bag building game before?
Um, I'm trying to think.
So I don't. Did you play Orleans?
Yes, I have played
Okay,
Orleans before.
so that's bag building.
Okay.
Um, I
What about the one we Quacks? Was
Oh
that
yes, yes, that's
Quacks as well?
definitely a bag building game.
Yeah, like I, for me, not really, because you can't like ever take. I mean, I don't remember in Orleans for sure, but I didn't think you could take anything out of the
Yeah,
bags, right?
you can. Well, in Orleans, I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head if you can do it intentionally. But remember, the plague that comes along, and you have to remove something at random from your bag.
That's right. That's right.
So that happens. And then quacks, I believe that there's a way. There are certain abilities that you can take stuff out of your bag too.
Oh, so it
Um,
just depends on what strategy you go
yeah,
with. Okay. Well, I mean,
I
to me,
I
it's kind of
think
similar to
they're
that.
I think they're pretty equal.
Yeah.
I I like shuffling cards and like getting all your discards and shuffling them back up. That's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of fun reaching to a bag and picking something at random and seeing what it is.
And you just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and those are all great games we mentioned. Also, I need to teach this game to you, but Laura and I played this game called Dice Masters, and it's kind of like a collectible card game, but with dice.
Oh, okay.
And at the beginning of the game, you choose like you have to buy all the stuff, so you're only as good as how much money you put into the game.
Oh,
But
one of those.
yeah,
Okay.
but I've got some stuff enough for us to play,
Okay.
and so we pick, and it's all DC. So we pick our DC characters that we want to start our teams with, and then you start with 8 basic dice, and they're called your sidekick dice.
Okay.
And it's the same kind of deal as deck building. When you start your turn, you draw out a certain number. In this case, it's 4, and then you roll them. And certain things on the dice will be like your currency that you can use to buy the dice of your other heroes. And so those
Okay.
will go into the bag, and then you mix them up. So that way, next time when you draw, you may get a sidekick die, or you might get a Batman die, or you might get a Wonder Woman die, and those are going to be stronger to help you deal damage to your enemy. Um, and so I love that just as much as any other deck building game. So
Yeah.
I would say they're equal to me,
Okay.
and I think it's being able to go from one to the other is a nice change of pace too, because you still get that same feel, but it's not shuffling cards all the time.
Right. Right. I mean, a different spin on the mechanism.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. So definitely good question, man. That's awesome.
Yes. Hmm.
So that leads me to
Well, let me
oh,
talk
go ahead.
about touch on worker placement real quick. Um, is that all right with you? Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
you froze for a second, so
Sure. Totally.
um, this is my
I thought you did.
this is my other favorite, and I don't know why. It seems like such a boring thing. You put something down and then you get something, or you put a worker down and you get to do something. Um, but it's satisfying It's like your worker is doing something. You put this thing here, and he does this activity, and you get something in return. And then, but the whole blocking people, so I can go here, and so that later on you can't go there, and you get frustrated, and that's a lot of fun. And so like I'm thinking of viticulture is a great worker placement game.
Hmm.
Determining you only have a limited you have so many spaces to go to, but you've got a limited amount of workers. Trying to make the decision of where should I go, how can I most efficiently do what I'm trying to do with this few amount of workers as I have. Um, I like it. It's satisfying and one I really enjoy.
Definitely, yeah, that's a great mechanic too. I was thinking of Lords of Waterdeep
Oh
when you were
yeah.
saying that because it's neat. I like that one too because you start off kind of finite, but then
Hmm.
as you're building in the game, you have more and more places to go,
Right.
and then they add more workers about halfway through the game. So like if you build, if somebody's building on each turn, all of a sudden you have a ton of places to go when you get that next worker, and so that's pretty cool.
Hmm. Yeah.
Definitely.
That's it for me.
Okay. So there's one more question I wanted to ask because
Oh.
I was very curious about
Okay.
your opinion on this. Okay, so I kind of brought it up a little bit earlier. When I was talking about how in some games I'm just like, I just, yeah, I just want to learn. I
Hmm.
just want to figure it out. Some games I'm like, I'm going to win no matter what. I will win. And I'm curious as to how you approach, like, let's say a game you're playing for the first time
Hmm.
to one that you've played before, maybe one, for example, that you're teaching. Like, are you how is your approach going into that kind of experience?
I could give you a really long answer, but the honest one is I approach them the same way, which is I don't know. I'm just gonna do stuff and see what happens. Because like for example, Islebound is my favorite game. I've played it so many times,
Yeah.
but like I just play it. I don't have a strategy. I can't think back and say, okay, this is what worked. I mean, there are lessons that you learn, like, okay, never do that again. Like with worker placement games, I've learned that you get your extra workers as soon as you can, so that you have more opportunities earlier in the game.
Right.
But those are like general rules. Um, so like as you play, you'll get to learn what not to do. And there are times when you go into a new game and the game is over, and you realize, oh, I wish I'd known that these things give me extra points. Otherwise, I would have done something completely different. So there's that type of knowledge too that you get after a first play, that will help you out. But as far as like going into a new game, I'm just trying to pay attention to the rules and do the right thing, and I'll get an idea of what I should try to do. Um, but I don't. I think the best strategy to have going into a new game is don't have any expectations. I don't have any expectations that I'm going to win. I don't have any expectations that I'm going to get everything right.
Right.
I do have an expectation to have fun, and when I don't have fun, then I'm angry. Then, then the game is wrong, and so is the person who taught it to me. No,
Fair.
no, that's just me being hyperbolic. But in all honesty, it's just the best way to approach a new game is just with an open mind and no expectations.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I think.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think for me, honestly, I really don't decide how I'm feeling about the game until a couple of turns in, no matter if I played it before or if it's the first time.
Hmm.
Like, if there's something that I see in the game as I'm learning the game that I think, okay, well, this is an easy thing for me to latch onto. I'm just going to keep doing this because it's easy enough for me to grasp. And if I get points for doing it, okay.
Hmm.
Uh, but if I don't, then that's okay too. I'm just trying to learn. But sometimes in a game that I know really well, I still will do that because it will work for you in some
Yeah.
cases. Like, um, I is it Outbound where you build buildings, or
Yeah.
is that one of the?
Yeah.
So in
Hmm.
Outbound, that's my main strategy most of the time when I play that one
Yeah.
because buildings are a quick way to establish your presence in the game, and it's a way to get points in the game. So I just kind of naturally go there.
Yeah. Well, and it's also the end game too. Whoever gets to a certain amount of points wins. But there or a certain number of buildings wins. But you're right. Like I like to. My tendency is to like to build something up. Like I
Mm-hmm.
want to build up towards something, whereas there are obviously other ways to go. Like you, from what I recall, you don't necessarily go for the most expensive building. You just try to get as many buildings as you can, as quickly as you can,
Right.
in some instances. And there's no wrong way to play because while you may have more buildings, I might have the more expensive buildings, so that when the game's over, I might have more points.
Right.
It might play out either way.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I see what you're talking about, and I think it's funny you say you get after a couple turns in, you start to know which direction you're going to go, and after a couple turns in, like I'm still changing my mind, like one turn away from the end of the game, like because I don't ever get so set in on a strategy. Like if I'm getting to a point where I even think that this isn't going to work out for me, I switch directions and go for something else.
I
And then
got
when
you.
I don't think that's going to work out for me, and so what ends up happening to me is I'm just mediocre in every other area instead of like if I had stuck with it, maybe I would have won.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know, it's something interesting to explore. I'm not a strategic person
Mm.
in any area of my life. Um, just ask my wife. But it's just hard for me to. I just like being in the moment and enjoying what I'm playing
Right.
instead of like, okay, I've got to think 10 turns ahead, and so if I take this one resource, it's going to affect me 10 turns down the line.
Yeah.
That's not fun to me. But I applaud people that can think that way and do still have fun. I think that's awesome.
Right. Yeah. And it just goes to show that there's so many different types of gamers out there.
Hmm.
I know for me, I just am very I just want to simplify the experience as much as I can for myself, and
Hmm.
then I'll just let it unfold from there. Because one of my favorite things about playing games with, especially new people, and then your established group, is you kind of know and learn what the play styles are. And I like watching the different play styles because they're all
Hmm.
different than me,
Yeah,
and
that's a
they're
good
all
point.
unique. And so I love that. And so if I simplify it for myself, I get to watch everybody else do the
Hmm.
cool different stuff that I would have never thought of.
Right.
And for me, I just kind of like taking a simplistic approach because I mean it just streamlines things for me. There are 7 different ways you can go in a lot of those games, and that's
Hmm.
awesome. But if I try to go 7 ways, I'm gonna frazzle myself, or I'm just gonna get lost in it. And
Yeah.
I'd rather just, all right, I can stick to this one thing or these 2 things. I feel
Hmm.
good about these 2 things. Okay, these people are going after these 3 things. Ooh, I want to see how that goes for them. Oh, this guy's going after this one thing, but he's really going hard after just that one thing. Oh, well, let's see how it goes for him. And
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it when something like that happens, but you don't know why they're doing it. Like you don't
Oh,
see how that will
totally.
pay off. It's like,
Right.
what am I missing here? Like why does that seem like a very stupid thing to do, and he's still doing it?
And
That's
then you
fun to
get,
see.
yeah, and then you get to the end and it's like, whoa,
Yeah, I
okay,
know what to do next time.
that was really clever. Or you get to the end and it was like, oh, okay, I see what you did, but it didn't quite work. It just didn't have enough turns.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to to see how it unfolds because it can go a different way each time.
Hmm.
It's very cool.
Yeah, that's a good question. A good question.
I definitely enjoyed your response to that.
Oh,
I
thank
definitely
you.
agree with how you approach it, which makes it. I love playing games with you for that reason,
Yeah, it's
because
it's
watching.
never the same.
Oh, I was gonna say watching where you go is just always fun to see. And so one of the last thing I wanted to talk about for tonight, just to tie in, we're still in October. We're almost to Halloween, and so I wanted to tie in a little bit of the spooky theme here, and I wanted to maybe see if we could come up with a couple of scary movies that we would want to turn into board games.
Okay,
Um, Now I am not gonna lie. I don't know what horror movies are board games. There may be some that I'm gonna say that already are. I
I'll
didn't
help you
mean
out with
that.
that.
Well, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Hmm.
I'm gonna try, but I figured I'd start us off and just we'll see how it goes. So for
I've
me,
Yeah, I've pulled up a list of the top 100 horror movies because I can't think of stuff off the top of my head. So
okay, I
I've
got
got a
you.
good source right here in front of me.
Cool. Okay, so for me, starting with um, Saw. I think Saw would be an interesting game. Here's why. It's basically a bunch of puzzles. Now these puzzles are very gory in the movie,
Hmm.
but they're very thematic puzzles that you have to go through to get to the end of the game.
Hmm.
Well, that's already a board game.
Right.
It's just going in real life. I think it'd be very neat to take the aspects of that and how do you apply it to a board game? You know
So
what?
kind of like an escape room game, like an exit game.
Yeah, basically. I mean, and then you can spice it up however you want to
Hmm.
make because you can take different puzzles and put them in, and that would be a good example, like an
Yeah.
escape room where for some like exit you're taking the box and using it, and for some you're taking the barcodes off of different things, and you're using scissors and you're using a bunch of different things to make it come together.
Hmm.
I think Saw would be a good one to turn into something like that.
That's a good idea. That'd be the last game or last movie I would think to do, and that would be cool.
Yeah. All right. What about
Good
for you?
choice. This one, so I'll be frank. I've actually had this idea that I've bounced back in my head. Like, it came up when this movie first came out, and I've thought about it on and off and on. I had like an idea of how I would design this game, and it's for the movie A Quiet Place. Have you seen
Ooh,
that?
yes, it's very good.
Okay, so I just had this idea of there's got to be a way to make a game where as you move you make a certain amount of noise, and you have to do something in the game to like negate that noise. Like, you have to only move at a certain pace, or you have to have the right item to soften the noise that you make. Um, or so like one thing I thought of is in Dead of Winter, when you go rummaging on some of the locations, like something will happen where you make noise and the zombies will come over and attract you. Something sort of like that, or they'll be attracted to you. Something sort of like that, but on a larger scale that the whole game is developed around. And I I would call it the quiet game. Um,
Okay.
what would be really neat is if you got a really good, like, because a lot of games are using apps now. If you got a good app developer to make an app that actually incorporates your microphone on your phone, and like you literally can't make noise in the game that you're playing.
That'd be
you,
pretty
you
cool.
have to get to the goal that you're trying to do, but you can actually make the noise to do it.
Yeah.
So I just thought there's a lot to
Nice.
play around with that.
That's awesome. Okay, another one for me, and this is probably just, I mean, it's kind of a lame answer, I guess, but I think just in the and there are games like this, I guess already, but I would take Cloverfield and turn it into
Mm.
a game.
Hmm.
I think it'd be neat because you kind of combine the giant monster aspect with, I mean, the fact that it's an alien as well.
Hmm.
And then I think it'd be neat to just have it appear in different parts of the city. Like you're trying to, you know, go through the city without being noticed, and different creatures are just coming after you,
Hmm.
but you don't really know when they're coming. You
Yeah.
just, all of a sudden, they're there. And I think that'd be really neat to try to play with. Like as you open a door to explore this new room, all of a sudden there's
Hmm.
something coming at you, or all of a sudden you're just walking down like a alleyway, and then the lights just go out, and then bam, something's there. I think that'd be really neat
Yeah.
to play with. And that movie really encapsulated that for me
Yeah, because
as
you
well.
you've got, like you said, you got the large monster kind of thing, but then you have the little monsters that it like drops off or whatever. Those little things running around that
Yeah.
they could be two different things. I like the idea of trying to learn how to hide from it. Like if it's coming and you have to do something to hide, um, and like it's not like you go hide and it like just disappears or something, but like it actively moves down. Let's say it moves down the road, and you have a certain amount of time to get out of the way before it gets there, and then it keeps moving around, so that you maybe know where it goes, but maybe it does turn a corner, and like in the rules, it does disappear because it's turned a corner. Stuff like that. That sounds cool. So there's a lot to play with there.
Yeah, that'd be pretty neat.
Um, there's so many. It's hard to say because like there's so many games that these movies, like you could say Dracula. Okay, well you've got Fury of Dracula, which by the
Right.
way, they're making a digital version of Fury of Dracula.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so I'm excited. Uh,
Yeah.
Board Game Gran, hello. Board Game Gran has dropped in. She said, "What
Hello.
game are we talking about?" we're not talking about a particular game at the moment. We are talking about horror movies and what horror movies we would like to see done as a board game.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about Cloverfield, the movie, how we would like to see that implemented as a board game. Previously, we were talking about the Quiet Place and Saw. So it's my turn to pick something. Um, because a lot of games would be like you're running away from something like a monster, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I'm looking for something that has some kind of unique thing. One would be, I saw this and I laughed at it, and but it might be something. Is the birds? I Have you ever seen the birds?
Yeah. Yeah. What a
I
movie.
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know if I've seen parts of it, but you've got all these birds flocking, attacking people,
Yeah.
and same kind of thing. You got to be inside so they don't get you, but you have to like move outside the buildings to go do other things. Like you have to go about your life or do things that are necessary. But if you do, you risk the birds attacking you. I don't know. I think there's a game there.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like you play around with bird poop or getting your eyes pecked out, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What else? Do you have anything else?
Okay, I think the last one for me, and I'm sure that this has got to be a game already,
Hmm.
but I would definitely do Jurassic Park,
Yeah,
and
there's a
just
Jurassic Park game.
I was gonna say, if it wasn't already out there, I would definitely take that, or maybe like I guess well, and there probably is one for Jaws too,
Yep.
but something like that where you basically are just trying to avoid, something's out there, it's coming to
Yeah.
you. How do you survive and
So
survive long enough to get it off?
yeah, both of those games are made by Ravensburger, and they're both like one versus many. So in Jurassic Park, one person controls the dinosaurs, and then in Jaws, one person controls the shark, and then everybody else
Okay.
is playing the game. So it doesn't quite have that feel of like mystery to everybody, but one player is kind of like in control of those surprises. So that's kind of
Okay.
cool.
Neat.
Board Game Grand says the Invisible Man would make for a good hidden villain thing.
Ooh.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Also says the birds would be one I would buy if it had a vintage feel as well. So there we go. We've got at least one other buyer for the birds.
Nice. Yeah.
I just thought of a game or thought of a movie, and I don't know how you do this, but the other no, you couldn't do the others. Movies when it's like a twist ending, I don't think you could do that because the whole premise of the others is okay. If you haven't seen the others by this point, sorry, but um, is all the people in the movie are dead, and so like that's the whole point of the movie is it's a haunted
Right.
house.
Right.
So I don't think that would work.
Well, but if you took it and you turned it into a legacy game
Hmm.
where you had more than one play of it, and it slowly reveals itself, kind of like Betrayal Legacy, but it just is one story centric,
Yeah, yeah,
then maybe you could pull it off.
that's what Board Game Grand said. If it was a legacy game, you could implement a twist ending. So that's absolutely right. Like Pandemic Legacy has
Right.
done, and Betrayal Legacy, those legacy games. So sure, yeah, that would work. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yes, agreement. Um, okay, and I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Oh. This is the original, not the musical. I don't think. Little Shop of Horrors. Maybe it is the musical. But that would be hilarious. Having to defend against alien plant that's trying to eat everybody.
Definitely. I
Also known
know.
as Seigen. Because Seigen voiced the plant.
I have done it
Audrey
once
too.
before. It was
Hmm.
a lot of fun. I definitely had a good time with it. And I think the last one for me, and this would be kind of ironic, I guess, but I think it'd be neat to take something like a movie like Get Out, turn that into like a party game. Now it'd
Party
be
game.
interesting to see how you do that, right? But I think like a social commentary game would be very interesting to try to implement. I
Hmm.
mean, now that would be the question. How do you do that? And how do you do it where it's not offensive
Yeah.
or, anything like that? But I think it'd be neat, you can take for a very blank blanket start. I mean, you could take black and white cards and mix them together and then slowly work through the deck to discover the story that you're making, or maybe those cards, if you lay them down in the right way, can tell a story that
Hmm.
that works together, or something like that. I think that'd be neat
Interesting.
to try to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always great when you take something that you would never expect or think about and make that a board game.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of, Board Game Grand says she knows a guy in Australia working on a game about carnivorous plants. So there
Oh,
you go.
well, there you go.
Okay.
Maybe coming to you soon. All
Very
right,
cool.
so I think that is a nice bow to put on, or a nice scary bow to put on this
Yeah.
episode for tonight. I definitely have enjoyed it. Thank you to the people who have joined, and
Yes.
for your input.
I would
And
like to mention something if you don't mind.
sure, sure, sure.
So, I've been busy making a bunch of content for the Lighten Up Initiative. So, since I know sometimes I mention on the show if I have a review or a video out or about something, but since the last episode, I want to just mention the things that I've done in case you would like to check them out. So, my wife Laura and I, did a live playthrough of Mansions of Madness last night. So you can go
Yeah.
watch that if you have 3 hours of your time to kill. um, and then I did a review of Smartphone Inc., which is a new game that came out. A review of it and its expansion. My daughters and I did a review of Bermuda Pirates, and it's a kids game. That's a cute one. Shadow Network is a game that's on Kickstarter right now. So if you've listened to this show, a couple days after it airs, it might not be anymore. But they really need your help. It's a great game. It's a worker placement set collection style game, but it's like in the Cold War. So it's got a neat theme. It's a really neat game. Check that out. Um, got to 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. That was exciting. So
Yeah.
we made a video, Laura and I did, announcing that, and also a contest to win Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. So all you have to do is go find that video and watch it. It's like 3 minutes long. It'll tell you how to enter to win that contest. And that's running for the next couple of days too. Um, and then finally, the last one is a review of a game called Pendulum, which is a real-time game that's not cooperative. And it was one I considered talking about, but then I was like, I've got a review of it. If you want to hear more about it, go watch that.
There you go.
Okay.
Nice plug.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you again for tuning in with us. And always and forever, remember that
Board
board
games
games
are
are
fun.
fun.
Woo!
I think that was a little better, maybe?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, cool, cool. All right, guys.
All right. Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye-bye. I'm going to stop it streaming.
Gotcha.
Gotta push the button. There we go. Thanks, Board Game